Now that we have selected our chosen industry or niche and done some research on what kind of products and services we would like to offer, we are quickly going to get into brand development and brand positioning. So, why is defining your brand important? Because packaging is everything, and remember, people do not buy your product or service. People buy the perception that you are the right person to solve their problems. So everybody is looking to solve a problem. Nobody actually takes out their credit card and buys stuff because they want to buy stuff. They're looking to solve a problem. And if they think that you're the right person to solve their problem, they will do business with you. So quickly, four things that your brand should say is: A, it should be sharp. It should be very clear on what you do, who you do it for, what are the benefits they're going to get. Very, very sharp. Also, there is no value in today's market in being generic. So you should be focused on what market you serve, what is the sub market or sub niche you serve in there, and try to go as specialized as possible. And then what problem you solve for them and what benefit do they get out of getting you to solve that problem for them. These things should be clear in your mind, and we'll craft a statement to encompass all of these things in just a few minutes. The second thing is, when people interact with your brand, which is your company or yourself or your employees, they should always be enthusiastic. So you should be enthusiastic but retain control in the interaction, and we'll talk about that in a second. The third thing is that you should be knowledgeable and professional. Not only knowledgeable, because people like to buy from people who know more about stuff than they do in that particular area, right? So, regardless of whether you're selling to an individual or to another business, they will come to you. A business is already a larger business house which has a lot of things in place. But if they come to you, let's say for graphic design or for event management or for some HR consulting, they come to you only because they think you can do a better job and that you have more knowledge than they have, right? So you should be professional and knowledgeable. And by professional, I mean at certain points in the interaction, even if the customer is getting irate or if the customer is being doubtful about your capability, you should be professional in dealing with them and not get pulled into their matrix. Last and most important is the whole interaction and the whole experience of dealing with you subconsciously should state that you are the valuable party, you hold the value, you lead the interaction, and you control the interaction. So just to give you an example, I mean, large quality brands like Apple and like Mercedes, you walk into a Mercedes showroom, somebody is always ready to help you, but there is a subconscious statement that they know that they have value, and while the individual dealer may bend over backwards to accommodate some of your requests and things like that, they know that you have to stretch to meet them, which means they know that they have the value, and you're the one who is going to own something great at the end of it, and they behave like that. You go into an Apple store or you look at the keynote speeches given by Steve Jobs or whatever, they pretty much know that they have the value. Even if they don't have the product ready, they will tell their audience that you need to pre-apply. Whenever we have product ready, we'll give it to you. A lot of these releases are done in a way where they make their customers line up, before the product release or outside their stores or whatever it is. And it's not out of disrespect or to make the customers feel any lesser, but there's a subliminal feel when people interact with their brand, when you interact with their brand, that the brand is the one that has the value and you're the person who's the seeker. So, this whole interaction needs to be choreographed in such a fashion. We're going to talk about this in detail in your bonuses around sales and marketing and productizing, but this is just some stuff we need to go over here just so you have certain things, at least mindset wise, in place. So you need to be sharp, enthusiastic, knowledgeable, professional while being in control of the whole interaction. All right. Now we'll quickly go into the components of your brand packaging, and typically there are 3 layers that you need to set in place, and the first and most important layer is the core message, because that is the first thing that the customer is going to see when they interact with your brand. And there are 3 things that you need to have in place. The first thing is that you need to be focused on a micro niche. You need to be focused on an industry, and what is the sub industry inside that industry, who are you servicing, right? And then there needs to be some specialization to your product and service. There is no benefit or value in being a generic or a general all service provider or all product provider. There needs to be an eye-catching speciality, which is what you do for the person you do it for, and it should be highly specialized. We're going to talk about an example just in a minute. Another third thing is you should have something called a lead magnet, which is some written material or some video material ready that the customer can request for, right? So if somebody comes and talks to you, the moment they start asking the first few questions, you should say, hey, that's a great question. Why don't you WhatsApp this number, or why don't you go to this website and throw in your email, and we'll send you a guide or a how-to or a why-to, or 10 reasons why and 10 reasons how, and something like that, which we will send to your email or to your WhatsApp, which will give you more information about us, right? So this thing is called a lead magnet because the customer has to apply for it by putting in the email or their phone number somewhere, and that makes them a lead, which means that helps you contact them later. So there are two types of customer details that you collect, and I need you to understand the difference between them. One is a passive customer contact info, which is of very limited use. It might as well not exist. So if you take down the customer's phone number or their email, that is good, but it's not good enough. What you need to do is make sure that the customer has opted in for receiving some information from you. So there are two forms of doing that. The first form is where you send them to your website, and the website has a panel where they enter their name and email address for them to receive some information. And this whole thing is run by something called an email system. And we're going to talk about email systems in the course around marketing. That's something that you should do once you set up your website. Currently at this level, you don't really need to set it up right now because we are kind of doing things the more non-technical way in this basic course. But what you can do is set up a WhatsApp number, a special number that you have for your business. And when a customer asks you any information, hey, how do you go about doing this? You say, hey, that's a great question. If you can WhatsApp this number, we'll send you a guide or some explanation or a flyer about how we do this stuff, or a video, right? And you make them WhatsApp your business number. And the reason you do that is in order to be able to WhatsApp your business number, they need to add it in their phone book. And if they add it to your phone book and they send you a message from that number, then you can actually add them to a broadcast list and send mass messages to them later. So not only do you send them the guide or something that you promised them at that point, but later you can add them to a broadcast list where if you have, let's say, 1,000 people on your broadcast list, if you send out an offer, it goes out to 1,000 people, and even if 2% of them buy, that's 20 sales for you right there, right? So it's very important that you get them to request for some information, and that's something that we call a lead magnet. Okay. Now, before we go to the other ones, we are just gonna skip forward a little bit and just quickly discuss a sample of how a brand can do things right and do things wrong. And it's just a perspective of thinking, just takes 5 minutes. So, over here we have a quick interaction where the prospect says, hey, what do you do? And the brand says, hey, we are into event management. All right, so what type of events are you into? Well, we are into all types of events. Okay, great. Do you do private parties? Yes, we do. Well, what kind of private parties have you done? Mostly kids parties. Okay, great. We'll think of you when we have something like that coming up. And then the person says, hey, please keep my card or my brochure or whatever, right? So there are many things that are wrong about this interaction. The first thing is the niche is not clearly defined, which is whom do they do this for is not clearly defined. The product is very generic. We are into event management. The specialty is not clearly defined. What do they specialize? What does the prospect get out of hiring these people? And the reward, which is what does the prospect get, and what is the specialty, which is what specific type of service do they kind of focus down upon, right? These things are not clearly defined. The fifth and more important issue is that the prospect is controlling this interaction, and the seller is not controlling this interaction. And the sixth and most important issue is that the seller has given their card to the prospect, and it means nothing putting your information out there. putting your information out there is the most useless form of communication, business communication that you can do at this scale. So when you're a small business, it does not matter whether your information is out there. What matters is their information in here, is their information in your system. So the way you do it is you say, hey, why don't you WhatsApp your number and we'll send you something, and we're going to talk about a scenario how this could have been done better. All right. So we have the whole interaction made into a punchline which elicits a particular response from the customer. So we say, hey, what do you do? Well, we provide a full suite of planning and execution around toddlers' parties, which ensures that the experience and the memories stay alive with you as well as with your guests for years to come. Right? This is a punchline, and it makes things very clear. What exactly do we do? Specialize. Whom do we do it for? For toddlers. What does the customer get out of it? They have experience and memories, that stay with them for years. And then the prospect says, well, how do you do that? What all do you do in these kids' parties? And so that's great. What you can do is, this is our business number. If you can WhatsApp it, we'll send you a guide to 20 ways to plan your child's. Do you have kids? And they'll say, yeah, I have 2 kids. I have a 10-year-old and a 5-year-old. Oh, that's interesting. I'll be able to send you a guide on 20 ways to plan your 5-year-old's party so that they thank you for it even in their 30s, right? And you give them something like that, and the guide that you have at the back end could be a general guide for all kids' parties, but if they have a 5-year-old, you make sure that you say that, hey, we have a guide on how to plan a 5-year-old's party. Now what the customer is doing is they want that information, because before they hire you, before they think about the seed that you planted in their head about how to have a memorable kids' party, they want to know how to do it. They want to know the components in there, right? So whatever the next question they ask you is, well, how do you do it? How much do you do it for, etc. You say the first answer is, you WhatsApp this number, I'm going to send you this guide, right? That way you have them in your broadcast list. The most important thing is making sure you have them in your broadcast list, because chances are the deal may not close right now. They may not have the kid's birthday right now. The kid's birthday is 10 months away, whatever. You need to make sure that you're locked in for the future. And the benefit of a WhatsApp broadcast list is you can market to them anytime in the future at a time of your convenience, and the whole thing is free. If you send out those 1000 broadcast messages, at the click of one button, 1000 people get your offer, and even if 2% convert, that's 20 sales for you right there. So you need to start building this database of opt-ins, right? Now, what I want you to do is stop this video and read this whole statement, the statement and the follow-on statement, which is the 20 ways to plan your child's 5th birthday, and write down in how many ways and where all, with what words it attacks or it hooks onto a prospect's deepest desires and needs. I want you to stop this video, do this guesswork on a pen and paper, and then come back and replay this video where I'll walk through the whole thing with you. Alright, so we have the exact same saying over here with little boxes planted around individual words, and these arrows pointing towards what need among the primary and secondary needs of the prospect do these hook onto. So we provide a full suite. The full suite is the product portfolio. So remember, these guys may be just basic guys who are a cake shop, but they've built a product portfolio around their basic offering. The cakes may be the primary things, or the little eats that they do for parties may be the primary things, but they say we provide a full suite of planning and execution. The full suite is the product portfolio. Maybe they do photography, maybe they bring in some magician to do some magic show, maybe they have event decoration, etc. They'll do the whole thing for you, as long as you have a venue, which could be a house, or you could rent a venue. Maybe they do venue rentals as well, right? So you add on to your product portfolio, even though none of these items may be your core product. You may not have venues at your disposal. You may not know any magic yourself, but you may hire a magician. You may not know any photography yourself, but you may hire a photographer. But this is how you bring different affiliate services together to provide a package that gets into a high-ticket lead. Now you say we provide a full suite, which is your product portfolio, of planning and execution. When you say I do the planning and the execution, you're showing efficiency and convenience that comes under secondary needs. So you're hooking onto the prospect's secondary need, that if you do the entire planning and execution, you're a one-stop shop. They need to do business with one person, and you will make the whole birthday memorable for the kid, right? of toddlers parties. So toddlers parties is the micro niche. We don't do event management. We specifically do parties. We do private parties and we do toddlers parties or kids birthday parties, right? That's a micro highly specialized niche. When you show yourself as highly specialized, the specialized customer will come and do business with you. If you show yourself as general or generic, nobody will come and do business with you. All right. Which ensures that the experience and the memories, right, stay alive in your mind. So the experience is what? What is an experience? I'm buying an experience means that's assuaging my consumption need. That's a primal need, right? Among the 8 primal needs, the need for consumption, right? Consumption of food, beverages, whatever, an experience, etc. And memories stay alive in your mind. When memories stay alive in your mind, it shows durability of the experience. If you pay me 20,000 rupees, I do your kid's party, it will stay alive in your mind for years to come, shows durability, right? And then in your guest's mind as well, for years to come. What is your guest's mind? When something stays alive in your mind for years, that shows durability, you got your money's worth. But if it stays alive in your guest's mind, it tickles on your primal need for class or for conformity. Why are you bothered about your guests? Because the reason you want to throw this party is for conformity as well. Your guests also have kids and they're also doing these parties for them. And if you throw a slightly better party than they do, then it shows that you have better class or status than they have, right? And there's a lot of our society is driven by one-upmanship, which is not healthy. But hey, if you're a marketer, if you can tap into that need subconsciously and get a business deal for yourself, everybody wins, right? And then the person comes back and says, well, what all do you do? And you say, that's great. I'll send you a guide, 20 ways to plan your child's 5th birthday. The 5th birthday is a highly specific thing. So you ask them, hey, do you have kids? Yes, I have a 7-year-old. Okay, 20 ways. Then you say, well, I have a guide which says 20 ways to plan your child's 7th birthday. It could be a generic guide, who cares? But when you say it like that, they're compelled to give you their phone number right then and there, or WhatsApp your business number. 20 ways to plan your child's 7th birthday, so that they thank you for it even in their 30s. So when you say child's 5th birthday, again, that is very sharp, very focused, makes you look like a specialist, makes you look like you know what you're doing. And they'll thank you for it even in their 30s, which means when you talk to a parent about doing something for their child, that will make the child thank them 20 years from now, that hooks on to a very different type of need, and that need is connected with the care and protection of loved ones, which comes under replication for the primal needs. A very primal need. If you do something for your kids today that makes them respect you and makes this memorable for them even when they're in the 20s and 30s, that basically hooks on to that whole survival replication thing. It's very, very personal for a parent, and they say, wow, my kid will remember it even 20 years from now. That's a very, very primal need. So you're hooking on to that with this statement. See how this is different from the generic statement of doing event management, right? You suddenly brought the customer into your world. They're already in your funnel, right? And we're going to talk about that right here. Back to this slide. What you got to do apart from the core messages, you need to have a little bit of photo shoot and some graphics, which is your logo, a few photos of whether yourself or your brand or some of the events that you've arranged and things like that, depending on what you do. So in the case of kids parties, maybe some nice photos and graphics of kids enjoying themselves and things like that. And you need to have this logo and these photos on your website and on your visiting card. A logo is something that you just hire somebody to create, whether it's a graphic designer, or you could go to Fiverr.com. And some of these links are given right below this video. You can just check them out. You go to Fiverr.com and for literally $5, you can have somebody make you a logo. Some people want to go high end depending on what business they are in. But I'll just give you the example of our own logo, Startup Raj, which you see on the bottom left of the screen. And I have it here on my visiting card as well. It's a very simple logo that we got done for like 800 rupees, and we didn't even conceptualize it. We just asked 5 separate designers to send us ideas for our logo, and this is what we do. And then we selected one of them. We paid all 4 of them, but we selected one of them, and this one cost, I think, maybe 800 rupees or something. So what does this logo say? It has these 3 intertwining, things. And when we started the brand, we said, which is true today also, we say when the business is small, we are into consulting with small businesses. And when the business is small, there are only 3 things they need to focus on. If they have great sales, great marketing, and great productizing of product portfolio, then they can be successful. It does not matter whether they have the best people, the best systems, the highest quality product. No, it does not matter. The marketing, the sales, and the productizing will determine the success. And that is why we have this logo, which has 3 separate colors intertwining with themselves. And the 3 things that you need to be successful is sales, marketing, and productizing. And at a later stage, you'll probably have the systems and the people and all of that. But at the startup stage, we feel these 3 things will set you up for success, and that's what our logo shows. It's a very simple logo, and it costs us 800 rupees. And I think this is, we didn't want it to be much more complex, because we did not want to show our clients that we are going to do something very complex for them. No, we're going to do something very simple for them. We're going to help you do the sales, marketing, and productizing that will set you up for success. And this is very simple stuff. It's not complicated at all. That's what we want to show, which is why we have a simple enough logo. If you're into a whole lot of deep designing and artistic kind of expression, you could have a different, more artistic, more complex logo as well. And in addition to the logo, what you need to do is also have some photos of you, because when people interact with your brand, they're pretty much interacting with the founder. So have some nice photos taken of you. This photo we have on this slide is a photo of me addressing a seminar which had about 40 people. And I actually took a professional photographer with me to that seminar. And I had to pay for the seat of that photographer out of my own pocket, because it was a paid seminar. And I was the one speaking, but I didn't have, I had to rent a seat, in the sense I had to pay for one seat just for my photographer to sit there. And then they took nice photos of me with a nice camera while I was talking. So, some of these photos are used for my promos, and they kind of showcase what I personally stand for, which is, I'm advising a bunch of people on how they can use simple ideas to improve their sales. And this photo kind of shows them. We have like 4 or 5 of these photos, not very many. And I have a professional video with a video message on my website, which you can go and check up on startupfrat.com. Now, the whole thing, inclusive of the video processing, these photos, everything cost me less than 15,000 rupees. So, you can find a lot of photographers in the market, or you can just go to freelancer.com and just find photographers in your area and get them to accompany you and get this stuff done for you. The graphics, you can just do it online on Fiverr, and not have to deal with a bunch of people in person. But ideally, in India, you have all these skills are very, very available. You can get very good services for very cheap, and just have some photo shoots and graphics. And then you need to set up your visiting card, which should have your brand name, your email address, which could be a Gmail address too, no problem. It'll have your Facebook business page, which is a free asset that you will create, a Facebook business page. And then you can have maybe some social media stuff, your personal Facebook profile or whatever, and a business phone number. And that's how we've set up this card. It's very simple. And then we will talk about in the other course, we'll talk about how to use the free real estate. All this space on the back of your card is free real estate, right? So you're gonna fine tune it in order to bring your customer into your business. We're gonna do that in the bonuses. So that's what you set up a basic visiting card, and you can order from Vistaprint or PrintStop. The links are given right below this video, and you can just do it offline. You can design your card in there. If you have your graphic or your logo, just load it up in there, and you can design your own card, and they'll send it to you for $100 for 100 cards or something like that. And then what you need to do is power up your social profiles. So if your brand name is separate from your personal name, you need to have separate brand pages. So with your personal profile, you can link any number of business pages, which are actually business promotion pages, for free on Facebook. But on Twitter, if your brand name is separate from your personal presence, then you need to set up a separate profile for Twitter. On YouTube also, you can set up a commercial page, but what I would recommend is you set up a separate Gmail account with the name of your brand, if your brand is separate from your from your personal name. And then set up a YouTube account with that brand name. And we're going to talk about this in detail in the marketing bonuses that you have. But the 5 social media channels that you need to have active are Facebook, personal name and brand name page; Instagram, personal name and brand name; Twitter, personal name and brand name; and YouTube personal name and brand name, and then LinkedIn. So you need to set all these up. These are for free. You can take 15 minutes out, go to your social media and set up these pages, or access our marketing course that you have as a bonus, and all of the details are given in there on how to set up each of the social media profiles. All of this stuff is free. You're not setting up your own website. You're not doing any hosting, not doing any crazy stuff that takes you away from your sales and marketing, but just set this all of this stuff up. Now, if you have access to a good IT person who can set up your website, that's great. Otherwise, don't worry about it. But the one thing you do need to do right now is go to GoDaddy or Namecheap, and you have the links right below this, and book a domain name, one in your personal name and one in your brand name, right? If you are a consultant or a coach, or in a kind of business where your own personal name is your brand name, then you need to just book one domain name, and that should be your personal name. And if the .com is not available, just do .info or just .co.in. When you go inside GoDaddy, usually the .com variations could run into tens of thousands or lakhs, because other people as squatters are sitting on these domains. But get something that lies between 700 and 1000 rupees, right? 700 and 1000 rupees, that should be good enough. So go write your personal name, and if your personal name is not available, add your middle name as well, and your brand name, and you buy these two domains, one in your personal name, one in your brand name. And if the .com is not available, get the .info, .us or .co.in or whatever it is, and lock it down. You may not need it right now. You may need it in a few months or a few years. But at some point, you're going to fire up both these domains, which is you're going to have your brand profile and you're going to have your personal profile. And both of them are going to get fired up. And these you're going to use for about 20 years, because at some point, your personal brand will be the overarching holding company over all your different brands that you have at that time. So lock down the domain names right now. Get something that costs 700 to 1000 rupees and lock it down. Log into GoDaddy and do it right now. Now, the last thing we need to be very clear about three things, the three F's: the funnel, folio, and the footprint, which means, what is the funnel? The funnel is the prospect's journey through your brand. When they first interact with you, when they first come into your store, when they first hit your website, when they first come to know about your product and service, you should pull them in with some action. And we just discussed an example out here where you say, hey, if you can WhatsApp this number, I'll send you a guide how to do this. And when that happens, they're already in your system. So they have entered your funnel. And what a funnel does is it walks the prospect. Funnel is a set of processes in your business which walks the prospect from the time of introduction to the time of sale, right? And it walks it seamlessly through the time of introduction to the time of sale with no dropping the ball in between. We talk about this funnel approach in our sales course in detail. So you all have this in your bonus in the bundle courses. But the funnel is very simply, the prospect walks in, you get him to take an action, him or her to take an action, and then you follow a set of steps that walks them through the whole process till they have enough knowledge and they're hopefully motivated to do business with you at a time of your convenience. So you take the lead in this process and walk them through the whole process, and the whole thing is called a funnel. So you need to be clear about the whole journey. We're going to discuss this in greater detail in the bonuses. You need to be clear about what journey you're going to have your prospect walk through, right? You're not going to sell to everybody, and everybody's not going to buy. Don't worry about it. But you're going to have a total control over your sales process, where you know that X number of prospects will walk through the funnel and Y number of conversions will happen. That will help you predict your business very accurately every month and every quarter. Okay. The second thing is you need to build a product portfolio. So in this example that we just discussed, if this cake shop does only cakes and eats and snacks, and if they want to go high ticket, if they pitch themselves as a kids birthday party organizer, then they'll need to have other products in their portfolio like event management, booking an appropriate location, maybe decoration, maybe music, maybe add in props like maybe a magician or something, maybe have photo coverage. So all of these things are something they don't need to own. They don't need to have a magician on their payroll. They don't need to have a photographer on their payroll. But these are allied product portfolio products that they can bring into the package. Remember, it's the packaging that sells, not your products. So these are things you need to have at hand to add into the mix in order to create a product portfolio. At a certain point, there may be people who come to you and they say, we don't want the party, but we just want a photographer. Well, it doesn't hurt to be the person who actually brings the photography service to their doorstep, right? So just have a vision of some of these allied products and services that form your portfolio. And the next thing is you need to have your footprint. There are certain products that will be not very valuable products to you, but they'll keep your footprint on that moon, so to say, right? I'll just give you an example. So for example, you have Microsoft. They make Windows, which is the platform on which laptops run and things like that. And they were extremely good at that, Microsoft Windows, when they came up with. And then they also had this browser which is called Internet Explorer. So about 20 years back, there were other browsers in the market that you had to buy. You had to purchase a browser software, like Netscape, for example, was a very successful browser software. Now, Microsoft realized that they could not compete with Netscape in the browser business. So what they said, we'll just give away our browser for free with Microsoft Windows. So if you buy a copy of Windows, you get the browser for free. And that drove more and more people to get Microsoft Windows sales, and they would get the browser for free. So Microsoft was running their whole browser business at zero profit, at a loss actually. But what it helped them do was two things. Because of the packaging, more people would buy Windows versus other software that used to exist at that time. And then they drove Netscape, which was a competitor in the internet, in the browser business, out of business, right? So this whole Internet Explorer stuff, it kept them in business. It did not add profit to their bottom line, to their books, but it enabled them to do two things. It sold more of Windows than other platform software, and it drove the other browser companies out of business. And that enabled Microsoft to get a leading position in both these markets, right? So this product combination was very, very useful, although the Internet Explorer was running at a loss because they gave it away for free. So that is an example of a product portfolio where you have one product running for profit and the other product just because it completes the portfolio. And now Microsoft also has they own Nokia, the company, and now they have these Windows phones coming up and all. Microsoft has literally no domination presence in that market. They're not as good as Apple, and they're not as good as Android, but they have that presence in that market just in case they want to fire it up at any point in time. So they have a footprint in that market. They have a footprint on that moon, so to say. So there are products that you keep for profit purposes. There are products you keep for portfolio purposes, and there are products you keep only to have your footprint on that moon. And that's the idea behind this, right? So you need to have your prospect journey. What is the prospect going to need out of your packaged offerings, which is a portfolio, and where all do you need to have your footprint, just because you have footprints in all the different markets. In all the different markets that are related to your core product. And having an access to, for example, a photographer is very important. There may be certain scenarios where somebody hires your photography service, which has nothing to do with your core product, which is, snacks and cakes and eats or whatever. So that's how the whole thing works. And then you need to circulate in the community and invest in your learning. The more you learn about the market, the more you learn about what prospects think about the product and services, how pricing is working, what are the challenges that the industry is facing, the more you will be able to come up with different solutions and help the community as well. So if you tie up with all these different affiliated and allied service and product providers, assuming that you are an ace in sales and marketing, you will be able to bring in business that helps all of you form a team and supply the customer with you as the pole position, because you are the person in front of the customer, right? So you need to circulate in your community and form alliances and networking, because networking will help you provide better and better product combinations for your customers, right? And then invest in learning so that you're always one step ahead of not only the prospects, but also your competitors, right? So you need to be ahead of your prospect market and your competitors. So invest in your learning. You should be the person who knows the most about this kind of stuff at any point in time if you're going out into the market, right? So just invest in your learning through books and tapes and events, and just buy programs. I invest a lot in my learning. And then circulate in the community so you have some real world feel of what it is, how you can translate all that learning into actual action on the field. All right. I think that's about it for this video, and I'll see you in the next video. In the meantime, what I want you to do is I want you to take a pot shot at how you would create or craft your brand statement. What would be your specialty? What would the customer get out of it, etc. in the format that we've just discussed in this video, and we will discuss this in the comments, and we'll discuss it in great detail during the bonuses section. So I want you to take that pot shot and write down whatever comes to your mind, and refine it for maybe 5-10 minutes. Just think about it for 5-10 minutes and write it down on what you think, what target market, what sub niche you address, what is your specialty service, and what the prospect gets as a reward out of interacting with your brand. And get your visiting cards ready, buy your 2 domain names, and I'll